At Lake Burin, we found darter, wandering whistling duck, Pacific black duck, welcome swallow, and Australian brush turkey, all of which we had seen earlier on the trip. Lake Tenaroo is full of birds, including Australian pelican, great egret, and little pied cormorant, all of which we had seen earlier in these tapes. We found a spot with snags in the water and reeds along the edge, and there were birds everywhere. The bird on the right appears to be a cattle egret. Note the steep forehead compared to the great egret at the back. The pied cormorant is widely distributed in Australia, being absent only from the central part of the continent. Note the longer bill and the black link above the leg. In Australia, the little black cormorant has a range which is similar to that of the pied cormorant. It's also found in Indonesia through to New Zealand. It's typically found in small groups. Magpie geese were coming to roost in the trees along the shore. It's found in North and Northeast Australia, with a small population in the southeastern portion of the country. It's also found in New Guinea. Its population has declined since the European settlement. The magpie goose feeds on aquatic bulbs, roots, and seeds. And as you can get an idea from this video, they roost communally and are often found in large flocks. Two females and a male usually form mating bonds, which are long-lived. Heading toward Hasty Swamp, which is near the town of Atherton, we found a buff-banded rail along the road. Their diet consists primarily of insects and aquatic invertebrates, and sometimes roadkill, as you see here. Arriving at the swamp, we immediately saw the plumed whistling duck, which along with the torrent duck of the Andes is my favorite duck. It's found in most of Australia, being absent from portions of the southwestern interior. It feeds primarily on grass seeds, which it usually finds at night. During the day, they form large flocks at their favorite swamp, and they're constantly noisy. This species also perches in trees. Nearby we found sulphur-crested cockatoos and laughing kookaburras, which entertained us with their raucous calls. At the swamp, we also found Australasian grebe and Pacific black duck. Leaving the swamp, we headed back toward our campground at Lake Eacham. The next day we would be off to Granite Gorge in the Mariba wetlands. Along the way to the campground, we stopped at a cornfield for an amazing array of birds. A large number of Brolga were in the field. Mixed in with them were many Sarus crane. It's found from India, through Indonesia, to Australia, where it's found in limited areas of the north. It was not identified in Australia until the 1960s. The Sarus crane is omnivorous and typically feeds in flocks. This species may interbreed with the Brolga. They have in captivity, and they are often found together in the wild. Black-faced Cuckoo-Shrike, which we saw earlier in this volume, and pale-headed Rosella, which we saw in the last volume, were also in the field. Noisy Miner was in the trees nearby. It's found in eastern Australia and has recently been introduced into some Pacific islands. It has an elaborate social structure which appears to revolve around a dominant female. Back at the campground, we were treated to a flock of Australian king parrots. The next morning, we were off to Granite Gorge, which is known for its Godman's rock-wallabies. They feed on forb and similar matter. Here we found great bowerbird and Figbird. The great bowerbird's range is limited to the northern third of the country. It feeds primarily on fruit, and so forages in trees rather than on the ground. Male bowerbirds build elaborate bowers on the ground to attract females. They decorate them with whatever bright objects they can find. Both male and female figbirds are present. In Australia, it's found along the east coast and portions of the north coast. It's also found in Indonesia and New Guinea. The races of figbird are so different that they were once considered to be separate species. This is the northern form. The Mariba wetlands are not far from the gorge. At the wetlands we had great views of squatter pigeon, darter, magpie goose, and magpie lark, all of which we had seen earlier on our trip. At the end of the day, we headed into Cairns, completing the first loop of our journey. We took a hotel overlooking the mud flats and spent the afternoon and morning watching birds and playing rugby. The mangroves on the northern edge of the mud flats were rich in birds. This sacred kingfisher was one of the first birds we saw. It's found throughout Australia. Nearby we found the beach Stone-Curlew, completing our Australian Stone-Curlew set. It's found in the coastal areas of central and northern Australia. The sacred kingfisher is also found in New Zealand, New Guinea, Indonesia, and a number of adjacent islands. It eats a wide range of insects, crabs, and small vertebrates. Although a small number remain in Australia each winter, most migrate northward. It's thought that sacred kingfishers return to the same breeding and wintering grounds year after year. They form strong pair bonds, which are believed to last a lifetime. The beach Stone-Curlew is also found in coastal areas of Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and the Philippines. It's also called the beach Pygmy. The beach Stone-Curlew is inactive during the day and is rarely seen eating. It eats the crabs you see in the background and hunts them in a slow, stalking fashion. Drinking from a freshwater pool, we found a bar-shouldered dove, a species we saw briefly in the first volume. In Australia, its range is limited to the northern and eastern portions of the country. We saw a whimbrel walking by the Stone-Curlew. It's a cosmopolitan species found in many of the world's coastal areas. In these sequences, we see it catch and eat small crab, which is a preferred food. Silver gull entertained us on Magnetic Island in the first volume. Here we found a few being buffeted by the wind. The gull-billed tern is found in most of Australia, being absent from the western interior. It's a cosmopolitan species found in much of the tropical and temperate zone of the world. Leaving Cairns, we headed north on the last part of our trip to Daintree. At Daintree, we took a river ride. Arriving at the dock before dawn, we spent a few hours finding birds along the river. In Australia, the Papuan frogmouth is found on the Cape York Peninsula and as far south as this area. It's also found in New Guinea. They live in pairs and defend feeding territories of about 30 hectares. The Daintree River is known as a place where there are many saltwater crocodiles. We saw 5 on this morning. Welcome swallow were on the snags in the river, affording many close looks. In the trees overhead, we found wampu fruit dove, named after its call. In Australia, the wampu fruit dove is found along the east coast. It's also found in New Guinea. There are 3 races in Australia. This is the Kerry race. This is a large species of pigeon with a size gradation in its range. The birds in the south are larger than those in the north. As its name implies, it's a fruit eater. It's usually found in the upper canopy and has been adversely affected by logging operations. The frogmouths were not always that easy to see, unlike the egrets and herons which perched in obvious places. We saw the white-faced heron in the first volume. The azure kingfisher was one of several species of kingfisher we saw along the river. In Australia, it's found along the east and north coast to about 200 kilometers inland. It's also found in Indonesia and New Guinea. A pair of azure kingfishers would defend a feeding range of about a quarter mile, or 500 meters, along a riverbank. It feeds on small crustaceans and fish. The shining flycatchers were pairing up. Here we found both the male and female. This species is found in the northern coastal areas and the coastal areas of Queensland. It's also found in Indonesia and New Guinea. The shining flycatcher is an active bird and easy to spot if you're in the right area. It prefers mangroves and river edges like this. It feeds on small invertebrates and insects. We saw forest kingfisher and little kingfisher here as well. We had seen the forest kingfisher at several locations in the first volume. The little kingfisher has a range which is limited to the Darwin area and the Cape York Peninsula south to Cairns in Australia. It's also found in New Guinea. The little kingfisher is similar to the azure kingfisher in habitat preference and behavior. It's a hard bird to find. Ask your boat guide for staked out birds. Back on land, we found mating spotted turtle dove, another species from the first volume, and orange-footed scrub fowl, a species we saw at Magnetic Island. Earlier in this volume, we had a brief glimpse of McLee's honey-eater. Here we could enjoy it any time we wished. In the orchard, we had long leisurely looks at bar-shouldered dove and Victoria's riflebird, both of which we had seen earlier. Around the feeder, we could always find emerald dove. In Australia, it's found in the northern and eastern coastal regions. Its range outside of Australia is extensive, being found from India through Southeast Asia to the Philippines and south. The emerald dove forages on the ground where it finds the seeds and fruit which it eats. Peaceful dove, a species from the first volume, rounded out the dove species here. Yellow-spotted honeyeater were common at Kingfisher Lodge and were a dominant species at the feeders. They were also common in the orchard. It is a limited range in Australia, being found on the Cape York Peninsula south to about this area. The organization of the genus Malpighiae is open to question, but all seem to enjoy nectar and fruit. By the stream we found gray-headed robin, a species with a range limited to this small area of Queensland and New Guinea. It's typically found at elevations over 600 feet. It feeds on worms, insects, and sometimes small lizards. It generally hunts from a small perch. There are night walks at Kingfisher Lodge. One night we found frogs, lots of mammals, like this ring-tailed possum, and lesser Sooty-Owl. The range of the owl is restricted to this small part of Queensland. One day we found a Bower Shrike-Thrush searching for food. We had seen it earlier in this volume and in the first volume. In the first volume we found the pale yellow robin along the coast. There are two populations in Australia, both on the east coast. This is the northern subspecies, Nana. It is typically found in rainforest where it hunts for insects. The grey shrike-thrush is found in most of Australia. There are three subspecies in Australia. This is the subspecies harmonica. In Australia, the tropical scrub wren is found only on the Cape York Peninsula. It's also found in New Guinea. As you can see, it's an active little bird, feeding mainly on insects which it finds on or near the ground. In Australia, the range of the spotted catbird is restricted to two small populations in northern Queensland. It's also found in New Guinea. In some references, it's called the green catbird, with the spotted catbird considered a subspecies. They are usually found alone, although in fruiting trees a number of birds may gather. They eat fruit, insects, and seeds. In the trees overhead, there were sulphur-crested cockatoos, adding their bit of splash to the array of sight and sound. The olive-back oriole is found in eastern and northern Australia, as well as New Guinea. It spends most of its time in the upper canopy, where it feeds on fruit and insects. In Australia, the range of the chestnut-breasted manakin is limited to the north and east, except for a seasonal population around Perth. It's also found in New Guinea. We found these birds beside the road next to the campground, not far from the tree where we saw the lesser Sooty-Owl the night before. In the past, their habitat was generally limited to reed beds by swamps. They have successfully adapted to cultivated areas with the demise of reed beds. Although strongly gregarious, they do not exhibit some flock behavior, like mutual preening. This ends the second volume of Birding in a Tropical Winter, our Odyssey to Queensland. In our next volume, we start here at Kingfisher Lodge and head south, ending our trip at Cassowary House. For Natural Video, this is Bob Barnes. Good birding.